Hey guys, what's up? Welcome back to the channel. It's Cynicalex, and Punisher is kind of just bad. We're gonna go into more depth on this, of course. That's not the review in full, but essentially, I think that's where a lot of players are gonna end up they're gonna end up at that position on Punisher, that he's not that good, and that you're better off just skipping the uniform altogether, which is pretty unfortunate considering it's his first uniform in like 2 years. And also considering that they're finally bringing him back to being Punisher, not being Cosmic Ghost Rider. Now, he got his tier 3, he got a stat bump with it, whatever, etc. But it really just isn't enough to, basically the way the devs designed him, it's really not enough to make him worthwhile for any piece of content. Because, first of all, he's competing with all of the other existing combat tier 4s. And even when they're not tier 4, he's still competing with Captain America and Venom and all these other characters at level 70. And then, of course, when you take them up to level 80. And who knows how long it's going to take, right? Punisher may never get a tier 4. We don't even know how this works because characters are already getting tier 4 before other characters have even gotten tier 3 or Transcendence. So as you can see from that, you know, you're basically completely rolling the dice if you wanted to say to yourself, well, I'm gonna get Punisher now for the future investment. He could get a tier 4, he could be amazing. Now, why am I playing Punisher in PvP? Well, as you saw there and as you're seeing from the clips, this is his best game mode. And when I say he's bad, what I mean to say is he's still not good enough for this game mode to really be worth the investment unless you're a very specific type of player. I will talk about this a little bit later. I want to keep you guessing for a little bit longer before we go that route, but I wanted to showcase on Auto what he does well, which is essentially his third skill. He's a one-trick pony, which is not necessarily a bad thing. We have one-trick ponies in the game, and he basically, his one trick is that he can one-shot you with his counterattack on his third skill. He pops it off and you die. The problem with that is he cannot infinitely spam his third skill because, of course, it's a video game and there's rules, and those rules state that you have cooldown. So he has a cooldown of about 7 seconds on his third skill. It's 14 seconds, but of course, if you have 50% skill cooldown, you can lower that down to 7 seconds. And so he's really only able to do that every 7 seconds. Now, against certain opponents, he can survive long enough. This is the operating word, the keyword survive. But other times he cannot. And so when he cannot survive, he dies, and he doesn't revive. He doesn't have an immunity passive on his artifact like Carnage and Wolverine. Not immunity, immortality. And so you have a situation where you have a very potent character in a very specific scenario, sort of like a very discounted version of Adam Warlock using his second skill. However, he does not have the healing that Adam Warlock has. He doesn't have the base stats that Adam Warlock has as a native tier 2. And of course, he does not have the revive like Adam Warlock has. Because Adam Warlock guarantees that he'll use his second skill at minimum 2 times. Right? On his first life, on his second life. Punisher cannot guarantee that he's going to use his counterattack more than once. In which case, at best, he can take down one character or one life of one character, as we saw with Gore, sometimes taking down 2, but it really is up in the air. So I'm not going to necessarily stop testing with just this team here, Wasp and Colossus. This is kind of like the default team. Commander does tests with this team as well. This gives him all attack, all defense, all speed, damage reduction, and it gives him, you know, a debuff lead. Now, you're probably wondering, Alex, why are you giving Punisher damage reduction? I thought he already has a lot of damage reduction. He does. He has 50% ignore or 50%, you know, pierce reduction, which is crazy. Then he has 30% damage reduction there. And then versus supervillains specifically, he has increased damage. So he has a lot of weapons at his disposal. And if you're calculating, pretty much every PvP meta these days is villain, except for Adam Warlock, and in the rare case that you see Emma Frost. So this really does work to his benefit. However, it's just not enough. He doesn't have the base stats necessary. As you can see, he's under 24,000 physical defense with Wasp's leadership. He's under 19,000 energy defense, which means he gets just destroyed by energy damage characters like Thanos, Emma Frost, Adam Warlock, etc. And then 131,000 HP is not bad, but it is kind of bad when you consider that I have a mighty CTP of regeneration on him. Yeah. So that's really how it shakes out. We have double HP roll on the uniform as well, just trying to pump that HP as long as possible. But essentially, that's what you're going for. You're going for trying to get your Punisher to survive as long as possible. And for those of you wondering how he performs in PvE, showing you a clip would really be the same as going into skill preview and just pointing out that he has very short cooldowns, very short animations with very few hits by today's standards, and that basically makes him like a worse version of Blade for PvE. And even when Blade came out, we weren't terribly impressed with his performance, and that was before combat tier 4s existed. So imagine that now. If you are dead set on using your Punisher in PvE content, however, I will show you this. Since Punisher has both the Weapon Master and the Leadership abilities, you can take advantage of both Taskmaster and White Fox to buff him if the stage allows for it. So what that means is you can take Punisher into a stage like 19 of Null. I know, pretty low stage by today's standards, but again, I'm just focusing on the players who really want to use this Punisher and they want to preferably use him in PvE content. You can use his Leadership, which is a 30% attack buff, with White Fox and with Taskmaster, which is pretty crazy. Now, what you want to do for a rotation is you'd want to do 3, cancel 4, and then when he lands, you would do 5. And that's basically the rotation, and then you can splash in the 2 and the 1, and then you would wait, and then you would do 3, cancel 4, when he lands 5, cancel 6. And that would be the rotation, and it's not bad. It's not bad. It's certainly not going to compete with Captain America. It's certainly not going to compete with Moon Knight and these other better, stronger combat PvE characters, because Punisher wasn't made for PvE, right? He was made for PvP. Now, of course, I'm doing this with 25% Pierce, but I'm also doing this with a PvP build, so you can go much faster than this without a PvP build if you gave him a proc, and I think he can be proc friendly. The only issue I would see with Punisher is that his tier 3 lingers for a long time and has a lot of hits at the end, so that would definitely pose an issue where you could accidentally linger into your next proc. But yeah, he also doesn't have iframe ignore besides his third skill, so you have to just be wary of bosses that are iframing because they will interrupt your combo. But yeah, this is essentially how it looks. He looks really cool, like he has really cool animations, so it feels kind of bad, you know, just giving him the boot right away at the beginning of the video. He's bad, guys, watch out. But it's the reality, right? We have combats that are just straight up better than Punisher, for all of the same content that you would use Punisher in. There is still a piece of content where you can use him, don't get me wrong, but we haven't covered that yet. The other thing I want to point out, again, not to be a party pooper, but there's very few stages where you can use all 3 of these characters. Human, the human tag is literally the only one, because otherwise, if it's hero, it excludes Taskmaster, or if it's villain, it excludes Punisher and White Fox. If it's leadership, it excludes Taskmaster. If it's Weapon Master, it excludes White Fox. So you sort of get what I'm saying. It still makes Punisher one of the easiest characters to buff via supports, because those are the 2 most popular ability tags that have buffs associated with them, on top of being able to buff him with literally any other support like Valkyrie, Shuri, etc. But unfortunately, he just doesn't make enough of those buffs to really get going and be able to compete with Cap, level 70, tier 3, Venom, etc. Like, it's a very, very high bar with these characters, and Punisher just doesn't make it. To cover the rest of the build in summary, we do have 4 Odin's Blessings with 8 HP Urus. 7 of them are mythic. One of them is not mythic because I'm running out of Urus. But yeah, he's got a good build here. We've got stage 4 type enhancement. We've got stage 12 Power of Angry Hulk. We do not have an artifact right now. I have his artifact. I pulled it for free. I just don't have it equipped. So this was the second part of my testing. What I wanted to do is basically equip his artifact. Now, I wish it had decreased pierce damage. I'm actually curious to see if I roll decreased pierce damage on this one, if it makes even more of a difference. But here's the thing. I'm going to equip this artifact now to show you guys. Basically, his artifact gives him a 50 with a 30 with a 4-star. It gives him a 30% chance to shrug off debuffs. So what I thought was, instead of having to rely on a debuff lead, what if we crank up his HP and we crank up his damage reduction versus villains by using Shuri, and we use this team right here. I don't think, I'm not sure, and I don't think this is going to suddenly make him a god. I just wanted to test out this team because I also intend to test out Captain America in the future with a PvP build. So I'm curious to see if this team can do some work. So we're going to go back against these teams here. As you notice, a lot of them end up being all villain anyway, so you actually can be kind of cheeky and use a support like Shuri or Valkyrie in certain instances. I think what this showcase now is going to reflect is that Captain America is actually really good for PvP. Well, not that time, but we'll see how Punisher works. As far as the rest of my build goes, if I had to critique it, I would say you could use a Mighty Authority, because as you can see here, he does get stun locked sometimes. There are certain skills that have super guard break penetration, which is really stupid, but it's something that exists. And only the steal effect from the Mighty or Brilliant Authority will stop that from happening. And so that's an option. However, as you know, with Authority, it doesn't have any HP, and it's very easy to cap Punisher's crit damage, so it feels kind of wasteful to give him the crit damage portion of that. And so you have a situation where, again, I just feel like he's not really built for the current meta of this type of content. It looks really cool to kill people with a glowing red sword. Don't get me wrong. His third skill just got interrupted there, and so he wasn't even able to use the counter, even though it was ready. So this is something that can happen against multiple types of characters. You know, Thanos has super guard break penetration, Gore, Adam Warlock. It's kind of a native tier 2 thing. It's pretty triggering at times, to be honest. But it's just something that we deal with, and it's why characters need to be so tanky in timeline battle, because they have to be able to withstand these effects and these sort of moments of getting comboed to be able to retaliate after. So there's Cap's retaliation, pretty strong. But we're here to focus on Punisher. Now, at this point in the video, you're probably wondering, what was that game mode? What was that piece of content that you think Punisher can really work in? Man, his counter just got interrupted by Hulk. That's so. Oh, he got the kill on Hulk though. Nice. What's that game mode where you think that Punisher can work? And I think it's Alliance Conquest. And I think what Alliance Conquest does is it highlights the fact that Punisher can do work if he's fighting everyone at the same time, because his third skill has a large enough AoE to hit all the enemies, and the way that it works in Conquest is everything resets in between rounds, so your skill cooldown resets. So characters who have a sort of a one-shot mechanic, or one powerful skill, like their Awakening skill or whatever, they can be used with greater effect and greater success in Alliance Conquest. I know that's not going to be that interesting to most of you watching, because you don't play Alliance Conquest, or you don't buy uniforms for Alliance Conquest. It's a very expensive habit and hobby if that's what you want to do, and I don't have any gameplay for you because I don't play Alliance Conquest, but this is what I've been able to confirm by talking to Alliance Conquest players. That's really seems like the only place where Punisher is going to have, quote-unquote, a home. Now, there is one other thing you can do with Punisher, and I want to go back to this fish guy to show you, and it's essentially to play on manual. If you really want to, you can play Punisher manually, and he can work because you can just run away. Okay, well, not the way that I'm playing him now, but okay, he's just getting guard broken every single time. Awesome. You can play him manually, but it's still gonna be frustrating. But yeah, that's basically the last thing I was gonna say, is you can play him manually because you know that there's a 7-second cooldown, and you know that you basically just have to bide your time. Gore is a particularly annoying opponent because of all the super guard break, so it's probably not the best explanation, or not the best example here to try and show you. It works, I would say, 60% of the time. Again, I'm not trying to say you should build Punisher. I'm just trying to do this guy less dirty than the devs did him. Okay, I'm trying to do this guy honest. So you just basically have to wait for him to do this second skill, and then you can punish. Get it? Punish. You can punish like that. Oh my god, he gets guard broken so much. Never mind. Whatever. This is a waste of time. Don't build this uniform. It's shit. Straight up, it's shit. Unless you're a diehard fan of Punisher, go ahead, knock yourself out. But for 90% of players, I think this is just a miss. This uniform should have been released at the beginning of the year. If this uniform was released at the beginning of the year, so basically a year ago, he would have actually made a difference in PvP, and he would have been a cheap alternative to some of the PvP metas. He would have been a very interesting counter to Spider-Man, and it would have looked really cool, them going at it. But in this time here, he just doesn't have what it takes, and it's sad because they gave him a lot of effects. It's kind of seems like they tried, they just didn't try hard enough. I don't know. He needs super guard break immunity. What can I say? I don't know. So yeah, there's the review, guys. I'm ranked 21 on freaking Punisher. Thanks so much for watching. Smash the like button, and I'll see you in the next one. Take care.